we were down by 20, getting our behinds whooped, right? And then finally we started putting it together. And I happened to just play the game of my life. Like I ain't never played as well as I played in that game.
That's awesome. Hey, what perfect timing, literally.
That's what I'm saying. I got to that point where once I finally was able to look back at my career, I just wanted people to have nothing but glowing things to say about the impact as a whole. What are they going to say about everything and everyone who you touched around you? That was super important to me.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received or a piece of advice you would like to share?
I'm actually going to steal it from OG Donnie Dawn, which is a disciplined person can do anything. You know, when I was in school, we used to look at her like, all right.
Yeah.
You know, like, all right, that's for life. That is in anything that you do. And it is far beyond basketball.
Proud to be partnering with Underdog Sports, my favorite place to play fantasy games. You gotta check out Pick'em. It's so easy to play. Just pick higher or lower on your favorite or least favorite player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it super simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile app. Sound like fun? Sign up with the promo code LIVThompson to claim your free pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 bonus cash. Can't wait to see your entries.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Coop, the show that celebrates the past and present sung and unsung legends of USC athletics. I'm your host, Olivia Thompson, and today I'm joined by another very special guest, a former women's basketball player at the University of South Carolina, and who just so happens to be my favorite basketball player when I was growing up. So this episode is really special for me. The legendary Aleighsa Welch. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, man. I'm excited to be on and chop it up with you.
Man, I'm really excited to have you on too. When I heard back from you, I was very excited. I'm glad you had that same level of excitement to be on. Like, this is really special to me.
Oh no, for sure. I keep up with it. I respect what you're doing. You know, I appreciate you keeping everyone, you know, within the program involved. So all love to you for what you're doing.
I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, it's really cool to be able to talk to people and hear about their experiences with the team and just catch up and see what they're doing now. I think it's interesting, and I think other people are really interested in that too. So I'm glad I could snag you for this.
Sure.
So I know we talked about it a little bit before we went on air, but talk to me about what you're doing right now currently.
So I'm currently working as a youth sports supervisor. I'm working on the West Coast in Washington State. Working in the Parks and Recreation Department. Came in 10 months ago, I think, as a coordinator. Got a great opportunity to become a supervisor 7 months in. And so, you know, I'm fortunate enough to where I'm in a position to bring youth sport to the community that I'm working in, you know, provide new opportunities, get kids active. I'm also super fortunate to have people that trust me, you know, to do so, because there's a lot of kids that play and there's a lot of kids that don't. Right. So I've been challenged with helping fill in those gaps. You know, we've been very fortunate in my department to get funding to help provide sport activities to kids. And so it's been full steam ahead, and it's been a great opportunity, you know, to kind of see what's out there, what's not out there, and how we can help, you know, these kids be active and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that sounds like a perfect position for a basketball player too, or just anyone involved in sports who already has that experience with leadership and team bonding and getting people to come together, that camaraderie aspect of it. So that sounds right up your alley.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How did you get started in with this job? Is this the first thing of this nature that you've done before, or were there steps you took to get to this position?
Somewhat. Before this, I was actually working for a athlete marketing company, crazy enough, in the NIL space.
Wow,
yeah, you know that. Oh, and
that was pretty crazy for you.
Crazy is an understatement. Shout out to the athletes for being able to monetize, but I knew I always wanted to stay close to athletics, right? It's been a part of my blood. It's been a part of my upbringing. It's a part of just who I am as a person. And so in this particular opportunity, like I said, it started off as a coordinator position, but it was for the youth sports program. And so when I saw it, I'm like, okay, this also aligns, with who I am. And it's not just about basketball. It's about sport as a whole and giving back through sport. I started off playing soccer. Basketball wasn't my first sport. Okay. And then obviously when I started playing, ball, it was everything else was done.
Yeah,
right. But when it came to what I knew I wanted to do with my career long term, I had always said I always wanted to be a coach, but that just didn't line up. Those opportunities for one reason or another, they didn't line up. And I was okay with that because I now feel like I'm in a position that I'm getting to live out my purpose. I'm getting to give back. I'm getting to pay it forward in a different way. And I'm also getting to learn about sports outside of my comfort zone. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, I may be very comfortable with basketball, but I'm learning about hockey. I'm learning about lacrosse, right? Like I'm even learning about figure skating. Like I'm learning about ultimate frisbee and disc golf, right? So it's one of those where I'm getting to experience and encounter people that are experts in these fields and they can pour into me so that I can be the best at my job.
That's amazing. That really just sounds like perfect for you. And I mean, anyone that's involved in sports and has that level of passion for the youth and getting people involved in group activities like that. So that sounds amazing.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. What's the most rewarding part about your job? You would say, I know you touched on that a little bit before, like just now, but like what's the most rewarding part, do you think?
I honestly don't even think I've gotten to experience the most rewarding part yet. I think a year from now, when I get an opportunity to look back at the opportunities that I get to play a part of creating, for these kids, I think that's going to be the full circle moment for me. Right now, it's really me enjoying the process. The first, and even if still now, I'm still learning. But, the first 6, 7, 8 months of it was getting used to something new, getting used to something different, right? Stepping outside again of that comfort zone of, it's been ball is life, literally, my whole life.
Yeah, it can be pretty jarring. Yeah.
It is. And it's a reality check, right? Because there's so much more than just what we're comfortable with and what we're used to. So I think a year from now, when I get to see the impact, right? When I get to see that there's kids that maybe they never played a sport before, or maybe they never played a, futsal before, and we were able to give them opportunities to do so. That's going to be when I say, give yourself a pat on the back. You did a good job.
Absolutely. But it's still that job is never finished mentality.
For sure.
Yeah.
You got to keep going. You got to keep building off of it.
Yes, exactly. And I love how you mentioned your passion and alignment with paying things forward, how important that is to you and how that's like your mission in life. And I want to kind of talk about how that has kind of manifested in your life as a way of, you had a scholarship endowed in your name. What did that mean to you? And in a sense of paying it forward, it wasn't necessarily something that you directly initiated, but your impact as an individual and a basketball player and a student created that and paid that forward. So what did that mean to you? What was your reaction when you found out you had that scholarship?
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh man, that first and foremost, shout out to Morris and Sheila Krager. The Kragers will, even still to this day, Sheila just texted me a couple months ago. We still keep in contact when I'm on the East Coast. We try to, see each other and get together. I haven't seen them in a couple years just because I've been in and out. But we're definitely going to make that happen soon. They're amazing people. So I wanted to say that first, but I couldn't believe it. When Coach Staley told me, I was like, me? Yeah, because I knew it took me a while after we lost, in the Final Four. It took me a while to get over that piece. And so it was very hard to look at my career as a whole, right? Mm-hmm. It was very hard because we lost in the Final Four. We lost by 1 point. We were right there. And so for me, I could not take a look at my career, my impact as a whole in that moment, or honestly, any moment after that for a while.
I believe it. I mean, that'll do something to you.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. And so when I found out And she told me, and, we sat down and we had lunch. It was me, my mom, Coach Daly, and it was the Kragers. And they were just talking about me and my impact as a player and how they saw me as a person. And my mom was emotional. My mom cried. And I remember thinking, like, I never in my wildest dreams thought that at the end of my career, this would be something that would happen to me, because I wanted to play hard. I wanted to win. I wanted to play the right way. I enjoyed playing. I enjoyed playing, and I enjoyed making that impact on my teammates and leaving people better than I found them, right? Like if I encountered a fan, I wanted them to have a smile on their face, right? After we just had maybe a casual encounter. Those were the things that meant a lot to me. So it wasn't anything about my stats, that they wanted to do that for me for. It was everything outside of it. It was, the things that I didn't even think about. And so I think even still now, I can't believe it. When Sheila texted me, she said that I think Tahina is the one that they did the scholarship for this year. I didn't even know they were still doing it,
Right.
And so for me, I remember texting my mom and I was like, this is amazing. This is something that's super amazing. And I will forever feel indebted to them, for believing in me and wanting to do that, for me.
Yeah, I mean, it truly is amazing. It's quite an honor. But I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, but when you're yourself and you care about the things like the impact that you make on people and how your actions and words affect them, I mean, like you leave that kind of a legacy. And when you were talking about it, it was interesting to me because when I was growing up and watching you play, like you were a great player. You stood out to a lot of people just from your ability on the basketball court. But something that I noticed was like your magnetism and how your teammates all sort of gravitated to you in like a sense that they really wouldn't with other people. Like it was like you were that person that they went to. And I saw in a few articles that Coach Staley called you the coach on the floor. And there were many other articles that talked about your impact of leadership. And I want to ask, like, is your leadership ability innate, or was it something that you had to like develop over time because it was like a lacking area?
I think it's something that it's always evolving. Right. Mm-hmm. It can always get better. The one thing that I respect Coach Daly for and will always respect her for is challenging me, and not just challenging me as a person, challenging me not just challenging me as a player, but challenging me as a person, challenging me as a leader, challenging me as a teammate, making myself more accessible. Right. Like being that person that, especially on the court, your teammates can lean on. And for me, I took pride in that. I think the ultimate thing for me is having the trust of my teammates and my coaches, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's the trust to make the right decisions, whether it's the trust to speak life into one of my teammates, and I am very fortunate to feel like I had that trust from the coaching staff. I had that trust from my teammates. I wanted to be the person that they could lean on, and I wanted to be able to lean on them as well. It was a two-way street. I had to be able to take criticism, right? Like, I had to be able to know, like, hey, Lisa, there's things you can do better. It's not one of those things where it's just like, oh, here's the captain, what the captain says goes, this is end all be all. Right. So it was a two-way street, and I was always evolving. I was always learning, but I was always challenged to be better than what I was. And like I said, I respect her forever for that because it helped me continue to be better.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, the impact that she has on players it's astounding. But the way she's able to dissect people and their strengths and kind of utilize people's strengths and build them up in that way. I mean, had she not spoken life into you, maybe you would have been more apprehensive to like start becoming more of a vocal leader. Because I know, especially when you're young, and you're joining a new team and you have these leadership qualities about you, you can be a little weary to like jump right in there and start being a vocal leader. Like initially you want to be a little bit like lead from example kind of a thing. Yeah. But when you have a coach who sees that early on and notices that quality in you, it gives you that confidence to step into that place where you're comfortable.
100%.
Was there like a moment during your career where you realized that it was time to step up as a vocal leader, or did you kind of start off was it a slow transition for you getting into that, or were you just off rip?
I think it was a progression. I came in my freshman year and we had a lot of upperclassmen, right? And so for me, I was just trying to learn and not drown. At that point. It was such a huge difference, right, between high school and college, and you're going from being one of the best players on the floor to everybody is an amazing player, right? It is, oh man. So my freshman year, it was being a sponge, right? And then my sophomore year, I was voted as a captain. And so it was one of, it was amazing. And so for me, it was like, okay, I knew the vocal piece I was always comfortable with. It was just a matter of the when and the timing of it and kind of stepping into that. And I still was learning that through my sophomore year, right? And then my junior year is kind of when I peaked at my comfort with it. You know, I knew that whether it's vocal on the floor, during practice, right? During film sessions, whatever that looks like, I was more of the vocal person. You know, I always say it I had the vocal piece, and then you had somebody like a Tiffany Mitchell who came in, didn't say much, but her leadership was, look at what I'm doing, right? Look at how hard I work, right? Still to this day, hardest working teammate I've ever had. Easily, hands down, had to kick her. They used to have to try to kick her out the gym, right? Because
she gives that. Yeah, she does.
Man, Tiff was a workhorse. And so she wasn't, she spoke, right? She would be vocal when she needed to. But for me, that was the thing that I was more comfortable with. And so going into my junior year and then obviously ultimately my senior year, I felt very comfortable. You know, I felt like I was giving good information. I felt like it was being received well. You know, I felt like my teammates, again, they knew they could lean on me, depend on me to do whatever needed to be done. And so it was a progression, but I would say my junior year is really when I got my most comfortable with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it certainly does help when you have another teammate like Tiff who brings that other aspect where it's not all on you. You know, you can sharpen your skills and she can help you elevate in that area, and you can play off each other in that way. So that's a really special dynamic that you guys had. And I mean,
100%.
Clearly it brought you guys a lot of success. But we'll get to that success. Because in this show, I like to take it back to the beginning when you had never stepped on the basketball floor before. I saw that you moved around a lot as a kid. So, and you actually ended up in Spain, which is pretty cool. What brought you to Spain?
My mom was in the military. So we were in a military family. We moved to Spain when I was 3. Yeah, we went to Spain from 96 to 2000. And so I was a youngin'. At the time, that's when my mom put us into soccer. My brother and I into soccer.
I was going to ask. I was like, it had to be Spain where you're playing soccer. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it was Spain. I think it was her way of just getting us to be tired out. But, you know, that's all right.
Fine, kids need that.
Yeah, you know, and then in 2000, we got stationed in Florida. We were in Pensacola, Florida. And that's really when I started to take up basketball. It helped that I had an older brother who also played sports. So, yeah, I spent my very adolescent years in Rota, Spain.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I was going to ask you if you remember it, but clearly not, because that.
Oh, yeah, only thing I do remember from Spain, I had a babysitter. Her name was Carmen. Okay. I think I found out a couple years ago that she passed away, but she was amazing. That's one of those core memories where my brother and I stuck to her like glue. And I remember when my dad told me that she passed away, and I was like, that's crazy. Because when you have people that impact you at any stage in your life, right, when you have those core memories, they stick with you. So if there's anything I take away from my time in Spain, it was that my babysitter Carmen was sensational. Cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it is pretty cool that you remember that and just the way she made you feel at such a young of an age. But when you got to Florida, was it your brother that introduced you to basketball, or how did you get started in that sport?
I think he started playing because my brother is 3 years older than me. So we both just kind of took up rec basketball. And so, you know, at the time you're super young. It's, everybody's just having a good time, right? And so it was something to where it's like, oh, okay, I kind of like this, I'm like, all right, I'm kind of good at this.
Absolutely.
I'm taller than some of the players out here,
That helps. That certainly helps.
You know what I'm saying? So that was my first taste of it. And that was just a sport. Once I started with basketball, that's the one that stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes sense. It's a great sport. I was addicted to it from the jump. It was like the best thing that's ever happened to me. But so when you started playing basketball and you start getting more involved and you're playing on these teams and stuff, when did you notice that you were particularly better than some of your peers in competition? And when did you, like, simultaneously, when was it something that you decided you wanted to take seriously and pursue in your future?
I think it was, we moved to South Carolina in 2003. My mom got stationed there. She decided to retire there. So that's when I was in middle school. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the 5th, 6th, 7th grade years where I was like, because I was playing rec ball. We lived on base. So I was playing in the on base rec league. But what really made me feel like I was good wasn't necessarily the rec ball. It was the ball we played at recess. So when we would go, like, I was playing like it was.
It's very serious.
You wouldn't think we had to go back to class with the way I was playing. Like, recess came and I'm like, check ball.
Especially, it's like August in Goose Creek, South Carolina. Like, you're sweating off. I
ain't had no business going back to class, drenched in sweat, clothes dirty, shoes dirty. I didn't care though. Like, I came to school for the recess part. And recess and PE. And so that time frame was really when I was like, okay, I'm good. But in that time, I struggled with a confidence issue. Like, I knew I was good in those settings, but I'll never forget, I didn't want to try out for the high school JV team. I was like, oh, I'm cool. I'm in this point, I'm in 8th grade. I'm like, I'm cool. Like, I'm just going to play rec again. And I believe it was my PE teacher that was friends with my soon to be high school coach, Coach Baldwin,
legend,
who was like, hey, we got somebody who can play. And they literally had to track my mom down to, like, convince me to try out, because I was like, I don't know. I knew I was good. I had more self-doubt about myself. And so the tryout period actually had ended, and my mom convinced me to at least try to go to one practice for the JV team. This was my 8th grade year. And I'm like, okay, I'll go to a practice, right? So I go to a practice and I played really well. And I made the team. At that point, I told my mom, I was like, all right, I guess I'll try it, right? And so played a couple games on JV, and then they moved me up to varsity. And so I think it was at that moment, my 8th grade year, when I moved up to varsity, I was like, oh, Lisa,
it's real.
You can play, like, like that self-doubt, everything you have. For me, when I got on the court, it was more about the lead up to it, right? Like, psyching myself out. But when I got out on the court, I'm like, you deserve to be here. You belong here. And we played in the playoffs. We played against Orangeburg Wilkinson. And we lost. Really? Yeah, we did. That's
crazy. I thought Goose Creek was like that.
Hey, man, it took us a while.
Okay, all right.
It took us. So my 8th grade year, I think I was the leading scorer with like 6 points. Like,
hey, man, that's crazy. That sounds like my stat line every time we played Goose Creek. I played Goose Creek twice in my high school career. I was averaging like 23. I played Goose Creek. First time, 0 points. Second time, 8 points. Like, what the heck?
Like, what's going on?
No, literally.
That
so
was
to have that done to y'all, right? So to have that done to y'all,
that was me against OW. But I remember that was when it was the end of my season. Obviously, I knew I was going to be going into my freshman year, and I'm like, oh, all right, you you can be as good as you want to be. And so that's really when I started to take it seriously, because I knew I had that potential.
Hey everybody, whether you're tired from tailgating or scoring touchdowns, there's nothing more important than a good night's sleep. It's time to upgrade your sleep at May River Mattress Company, the Low Country's mattress experts. At May River Mattress, not only will you find the top national brands, but you'll have an expert to help guide you through the process in finding that perfect night's sleep. Not to mention, with their low price guarantee, you'll sleep well knowing you're getting the best value in the game. So why settle for anything less than a championship level sleep? Visit MayRiverMattress.com or stop by their local Bluffton showroom today. May River Mattress Company, where the Low Country goes to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, fortunate enough, you were playing for one of the most legendary coaches in South Carolina, Mr. Tim Baldwin. He's
That's
awesome.
my guy.
Yeah. Tell me about your development in high school under him, and then just like from AAU and personally, just getting you on that path to end up where you ended up.
Man, Coach Baldwin, it was even after that game at OW that we lost. We was in McDonald's afterwards, and he was speaking life into me then, right? And so he also put me in great positions to succeed. You know, he had the ultimate trust in me. I have been very fortunate to play for great coaches who invested in me, both as a player and as a person throughout my whole career, right? So Coach Baldwin, you know, playing for him at Goose Creek, Coach Tiffany Magwood playing for the Low Country Ballers, AAU. Like I have been very blessed and very fortunate. And I hope that every young athlete gets a chance to play for coaches, you know, in their young years. That's their developmental years, right?
Yeah.
That put them in the positions to succeed that my coaches did. You know, in my junior year was a perfect example. We won the state championship. My junior year, we played Spring Valley, and it was a matter of it just being perfect timing. First of all, you know, we're a really good team. We're playing the state championship. It's our first state championship at Colonial Life Arena. At the time, I didn't know Coach Staley was there, you know, and I happened to just play the game of my life. Like I ain't never played as well as I played in that game.
That's awesome. Hey, what perfect timing, literally.
That's what I'm saying, you know. And so we were down by 20, getting our behinds whooped, right? And then finally we started putting it together. And I will never forget, it's the end of the game. And I think at the time the game was tied. It was a couple seconds left, and we had to shoot 2 technical free throws. And we go to the huddle, and I'm not thinking I know I'm playing well, but I'm like, he not going to pick me to shoot the free throws.
Exactly.
We got other better free throw shooters on the team. He looked at me, he said, "You shooting them?" I said, "What?" Like,
right.
I'm like, for the game? Like,
that's crazy.
You know, but it's those, like, he's looking at it like, I believe in you. I'm not thinking about percentages. He didn't hesitate, right, to say, "Hey, I'm trusting you to carry us home." And so I split the pair. You know, I remember after the game being like, "Hey, brother, listen.
Hey, don't do that. Don't do that again."
We won. That's right. All that matters." Right, but he had that confidence in me, even at the times that I may not have had, you know, the confidence in myself. And so very fortunate to play for him. Like I said, Coach Tiffany Magwood and Low Country Ballers, we were able to go down to Orlando and win a national championship together. Like, I have been very, very fortunate for the coaches that I've played for. And then segueing into college, you know, not another coach on this earth I would rather play for. I would do it 10 times over to play for Coach Daly. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, some best years of my life, really.
Man, what?
Yeah, truly. Like, when you take everything away, like losing in the Final Four 2 times. And then the way our freshman season went, you take all that away, I look back on like my experience with nothing but just absolute positivity. Would do it
100%.
Exactly. Like you said, I would do it over again 1,000,000 times. Yep. Best thing ever. And I want to talk about your segue into that. So do you think that it was after that state championship game that you knew that you were on South Carolina's radar?
Oh, absolutely. I think Coach Staley called and offered me, if not the day after, it was within like 72 hours.
That's crazy.
Because I remember getting a call and I'm like, you know, I'm young. Yeah. I'm like, getting that call, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was so, but you can't show your hand,
You gotta be
right?
cool. You gotta be cool.
But I always knew
Yeah.
it was South Carolina. I knew I wanted to still go through my recruitment process, but it was going to take a lot for me to not play for her. I was fortunate enough to be her first in-state recruit. That meant a lot to me as well.
That's crazy.
So, but yeah, when she, that's why I said it was perfect timing. I played the game of my life when she just happened to be there. I don't even think the state championship games are in Columbia anymore. I think they play them in Florence, if I'm not mistaken. So I was super fortunate. And I remember telling my mom, I'm like, Coach Daly offered me a scholarship.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
Man, it was a full circle moment for sure. So my recruitment didn't last too long.
No, yeah, I bet not. It amazes me how long it takes some people. I'm like, if South Carolina's on the table, you go to South Carolina.
Man,
it seems like easy math.
Playing hard to get. That's what it is, done. You can't do that now.
No, you really can't. You can't. But, speaking on that, what does it mean to you to be Coach Staley's first in-state recruit when you look at the dynasty of in-state recruits that she's gotten since, and you being the first person to start that train? What does that mean to you? It's pretty incredible.
It means a lot. It means a lot. The team was obviously on the up and up, at the time. I think the year before they went to the NIT, the year before my freshman year. So it meant a lot. I knew I wanted to stay close to home. Obviously moved around a lot in my childhood, was really close with my mom. So I wasn't going far.
Yeah.
I wasn't going far, but I wanted to go somewhere where I felt comfortable, and so it felt like an extension of home, and that ties into being an in-state recruit. You want to feel like it's an extension of home. Mm-hmm. And so to look back now at the players who are comfortable staying home, and some players, they want to get out.
Get out.
They want to be done, you know, but you can really stamp yourself. You can really put your mark on the program. You can make a difference by staying home. And I was glad that, once again, for me, I was able to do that. And my mom was only an hour and a half away. Yeah,
that is extremely fortunate to have that experience and be that close to your mom. And I mean, it truly is like the program immediately, as soon as you touch down, like you feel so welcome and so loved immediately. And I think it's that raw authenticity. And I mean, they're just honest. They're upfront about everything initially.
Oh, for sure.
And I mean, like they really leave no doubt in your heart about the decision you've made and where how they value you as a player and how they see you fitting in. Like, they're going to be real. And I mean, that's all you can really ask for. So what was your first impression of the team and the program when you arrived on campus post-commitment?
I mean, I knew we had a good team. That year we went to Sweet 16. I knew we had a really good team. We had great leadership. We had a lot of upperclassmen. Mm-hmm. Lakeisha Sutton, Aisha Walker, Markeisha Grant. I knew we had a solid team. We went down and Markeisha played amazing when we played at Tennessee. Yeah. When we were able. I said, "Yeah, Granny." Granny, man, it was. We had a very solid team, and so I knew we were going to continue to be on the up and up. Again, it was just me getting adjusted to all things college basketball, because you think you're ready, you think you're prepared. And when I got on campus, I was still 17. And so I'm like,
extra young.
I'm like, all right, okay.
Yes.
But it helped you grow up fast. That's for sure.
It sure does. Was there a welcome to D1 basketball moment for you?
There wasn't one in particular. I came off the bench my freshman year. I played well. I think it was just more of like, in the midst of playing, you're like, oh, I am no longer the best player on the court. Real quick. So it was more of like a humbling experience. Mm-hmm. It was more of like yes, Lisa, you do belong here, and you're also going to have a good career, but it's a lot of other really, really, really good players, not just when you're playing against them on other teams, but going up against in practice. Right. And so, and my teammates, they didn't take nothing easy. Ashley Bruner, shout out to the undersized post players. Oh my God. Like, I used to hate Ashley in practice. Like,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, Ash, come on.
She does not play around at all.
And so it's one of those where it's like, they don't care, but they prepare you. I look at all of them prepared me for what I faced as I continue to grow through my sophomore year, my junior year, and my senior year.
Absolutely. Iron sharpens iron.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And I mean, y'all's freshman year in the Sweet 16, isn't that the year y'all played Purdue?
Yeah, man, in that hot gym.
That's
oh my
exactly
God.
what Keisha said. She said, "Oh my God, that hot ass gym."
That gym was terrible. Like, I'm like, is this legal? Like,
yeah, they probably did that on purpose. They're trying to hate.
Man, we prevailed though.
Yeah, y'all did. That looked like a really fun game. And I mean, going to the Sweet 16 your freshman year on a team that's like rapidly developing, like this was I think this was their first Sweet 16 appearance, maybe.
I think so.
But still,
don't quote me on that either.
Yeah, being on a team like that, it's amazing. Like it's such a good feeling to be on that. And your whole career, you were on a very pivotal group of teams, projecting South Carolina in the direction that they're on. So like when you talk about the transition from season to season, what sort of growth did you see between, say, your freshman to your sophomore season?
I think if I could point to anything was my confidence. I think for me, I wasn't somebody who numbers and stats and all of that, like I knew that my impact came beyond what a stat sheet would show. But as I got into my sophomore year and then I got into my junior year, like I had the supreme confidence in what I brought to the table for my team, right? Because I knew it wasn't about what I was going to score. It was about the impact that I was going to have on the game as a whole, because again, I knew my teammates trusted me. I knew my coaches trusted me. So as I got older, as I got more experienced, I became so much more confident in my game, right? And so I think it showed with the way I played. I think, it showed with the way I carried myself on the court. But that, because I like I said, growing up, I always had kind of self-doubts about my game. Why? I don't know. Because I knew I was a good player. It's just I would psych myself out sometimes, right? And so when I'm starting to get into my sophomore and my junior year, I'm like, oh, all right. Like I'm going into the game. Nobody's going to work harder than me, right? Like those were the type of mindsets that I had, and I prided myself on it, So confidence was huge. My growth and confidence over my career was essential for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It truly is. And especially in that leadership aspect that you really stepped into. I mean, having the confidence on the court and lead by example, but then that confidence to approach your teammates and learn who they are in a certain way so you can speak to them and know that they're going to receive it well is extremely vital to a team's success.
Oh, for sure.
When you reflect back on your career at South Carolina, is there a particular season that sticks out the most to you, or like a moment within seasons that really just sticks in your brain that kind of signifies like the impact of those teams?
I think obviously my senior year as a whole sticks out because we just did so many firsts. But my junior season, I think we had got a split of the SEC regular season championship, and Tiffany Mitchell won Player of the Year. And I believe it was a 29 win season. Like we played well, like we played really well. And so when I look at, a lot of people talk about obviously that 14-15 season as being such a pivotal first, but I also look at that 13-14 season, right? And it was, Tiff was a sophomore at the time, and she, like, her jump from her freshman to her sophomore year was amazing. Like, when I say amazing, like, she had us all hyped up. Like, she came in and she added to her game and, again, became SEC Player of the Year, as a sophomore. And I'm like,
that's insane.
And I'm like, I get to play with her every day,
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that season to me was a huge pivotal point when I look back at my career going into my senior year, because it was that season where we were able to, obviously then you have Aleighsa Wilson who commits to come play with us, our senior year. And it takes those building block years up to that, to have a player of her caliber who is now the best player in the world. And we all saw the potential,
Right.
even when she was in high school, who wants to come to a up and coming, program.
Yeah.
And so we had to solidify that before she even got there for her to even want to come. Right. And
Exactly.
so, that 13-14 season was special for so many reasons.
Absolutely. Are there some moments during that season that stick out to you?
A moment, and I was actually just talking to my mom about this, a moment from that season that actually sticks out to me is that was probably overall my best statistical season. And I will never forget, Coach Staley called me the day that they were going to announce the postseason awards, the SEC postseason awards. And I knew both me and Tiff had a very good season. And so I knew we were both probably going to be in the running for SEC Player of the Year. And so she called me and she told me I wasn't going to win it. She told me Tiff was going to win it. And she was just kind of letting me know, votes were split. And it's difficult for a post player, like a true post player, to win it. But was just kind of speaking into me about it not taking away from the season that I had. And that moment always sticks out because, Tiff, I remember feeling so happy for her, right? Like, I'm like, this one of my best friends, she came in, she played her behind off. But I also remember feeling like it was right there, not in a selfish way, just it's always a great thing that you would be able to point back to and say, hey, that was something that I was able to do. Right. But once I got past that initial feeling, I was like, oh, me even being in the consideration for it, right. Was a blessing. But Coach Staley calling me to let me know and, to just kind of say, hey, it takes nothing away. Right. Like, we still in this thing.
Right.
That sticks out because she didn't have to do that. I could have found out with everybody else.
Right.
She didn't have to do that, but she did it, and I truly appreciated her for it.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's just very on brand for who she is as a person.
Yep.
Just be straight up like that, and I mean, speak life into you and instill that confidence back into you, because it can be a blow when you know that you're right there to achieving something like that, and then not getting it by just like a few votes, But like you said,
if not me, Tiff, Mitch,
exactly.
I'm like, hey,
that's my teammate. Yeah,
who better to win it? You know what I'm saying? So I was happy for her. That's how I looked at it. It was staying with us. So that's all that matters.
She still took the time to consider you and how you might be feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
But that was
for sure.
I mean, that means a lot. Absolutely. So would you say that Tiff is a teammate who had the biggest impact on you throughout your career?
100%, 1,000%. Our relationship through college and then even after college, Tiff was the one that if I ever needed to look to just find an extra push, it was Tiff, because Tiff every day gave everything she had, and we had a really close friendship as well. So that was super helpful. But when it came down to the court piece, like, again, wasn't nobody working harder than Tiff, wasn't nobody practicing harder, wasn't nobody, going through drills harder. And so she was that person that I could tell myself, like, Lisa, you can go harder. You can, because she was our go-to. Like, if we needed a bucket, if we needed a stop, it was Tiffany Mitchell. And I say to this day, I don't think a lot of people realize how good of a player, she was, but we got to see her every day. And so for me, that had a huge impact on, that makes you want to win, for your teammate. That makes you want to, like, hey, Tiff out here working her behind off, man, like this, we can get it together, so 100%.
Yeah, that sort of work That impacts everybody. That sparks a fire.
It's a trickle down effect.
Yeah, absolutely. She's still one of the strongest looking women's basketball players I've ever seen. In college, why do your arms look like that?
Man, it was everything. It was weight room. It was conditioning. We was on the track. I'm looking at her like, how? Like
you're not real. Like
how? And then you don't even look tired. Like I don't understand what's going on.
Right. Like you're humbling me and motivating me at the same time.
And I'm pissed off because what are you doing? Like what am I missing here? Like she took her nutrition seriously. Like I'm like, she was a pro.
Exactly. Yep.
She was a pro from the moment she got to South Carolina, a pro and a pro's pro. And she would talk about it, return on investment, like she got everything out of it that she put in and then some and deserved every piece of it. So huge impact across the board. I think for everybody, who got a chance to share the court with Tiff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, the duo between you two, and then you think about Elena Coates, Ashley Bruner, Markeisha, you think about all these people that stand out and just people want to play with players like that. People want to play with players who have that sort of leadership ability and skill level. They see the success and the fast growing success and how well everybody gets along. And I mean why wouldn't you want to play with a team like that?
It's contagious.
So, yeah, it is contagious. And you guys are the team that made South Carolina who they are, I would like to think.
Man, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you graduated or when you were a senior, what sort of legacy did you want to leave as a player?
I think a big thing for me is I wanted, when people thought about me and thought about my career, to have nothing but glowing things to say about off the court, about impact, right? I wanted it to be, Aleighsa may have played hard. Aleighsa, may have done this or done that statistically, but it was the things like winning the sportsmanship award, right? It was things like getting Scholar Athlete of the Year, like it was the endowed Scout, like those things, because they're more than anything a stat sheet could ever provide, right? And so I wanted people to look and say, Aleighsa all around just made a positive impact on everything she touched, right? And it wasn't always easy. Like it was not easy.
Right.
And again, it wasn't always like I was challenged. I was challenged a lot. Like I said, I got ultimate respect for Coach Staley. She challenged me to be better in every aspect. I had to learn more about myself. I had to learn more about my teammates. I had to learn more about my habits. I had to learn more about my leadership style, right? But I got to that point where once I finally was able to look back at my career, I just wanted people to have nothing but glowing things to say about the impact as a whole, because the stat sheet gonna say what the stat sheet says. You can look it up. You can find it anytime you want to find it, right? But what are they gonna say about everything and everyone who you touched around you? That was super important to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you're a teammate of a player like yourself, hopefully you're watching this and kind of have that inspiration to be that sort of a player. And I mean, it just trickles down like you talked about. So I think I've certainly played with players that sound a whole lot like how you were as a player. So it's great to hear that legacy is kept alive, whether they're taking it from you or not. But I mean, it's amazing to be able to play with people who have that sort of an impact. So yeah, I think that's awesome that you want your legacy to be more about what you do off the court than on, because
100%.
The stat sheets, you can look them up forever.
You can look them up forever. Google is a wonderful thing.
Right.
Google is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, but people will never forget the way you make them feel. So they'll forget the things you said, but not how they make you feel. So that's important, certainly.
For sure.
And, yeah. Well, I think that kind of concludes our show. But before we end, I want to ask you two questions. Okay. The first one is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received, or a piece of advice you would like to share?
I'm actually going to steal it from OG Donnie Dawn, which is, I think her motto is a disciplined person can do anything. And I think when we used to hear it, and, when I was in school, we used to look at her like, all right, like, all right. But then you realize like, that's for life. That is in anything that you do. And it is far beyond basketball. If nothing else, have discipline, and it will take you everywhere you want to go. And then some, because you might not always have the motivation, but if you have discipline, it is going to take you, far and beyond your wildest dreams. So even though back then we used to look at her and be like,
yeah.
Now me, 31-year-old me versus 17-year-old me, I'm like, oh,
I get it now.
That is something, it sticks. That is a quote and a motto that I will live by for the rest of my life, because it is no truer words have been spoken where that's concerned. Absolutely.
I mean, the habits you create and the way that you live your life a certain way, that discipline, it takes you very far. Yep, absolutely. The second question is, if you weren't doing what you're currently doing, what direction do you think you'd be going in?
That is a great question.
It's hard. Normally when I ask my guests this, they're like currently still playing. Like, when you've actually like fully found your career and like what you're doing, that question can be a little difficult. I'm going to have to work on a way to reword that.
No, I got you though, because honestly, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, I would love to coach, and even I want to find time once, things really settle in for me to volunteer coach, to pour into these kids. Like I said earlier, the way coaches poured into me, right? Like the way my coaches did me, I can't thank them enough. And so, am I fortunate to have a job that I love? 100%. But if it wasn't this, it 1,000% would be coaching high school. I don't know, these high school kids these days might stress me out.
Man, no lie. I'm talking middle school. Like, you got to start from like ground zero. Like, these phones, it's these phones. I swear.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They wasn't there back when I was in college. We got our phones taken the night before games.
Right.
So these kids.
That's what I was taking. We got our phones taken too, but we gave them our burner phone from middle school. So
see, we didn't have burner phones. Like it was just a phone. It was I hope you got an iPad because your phone is gone.
I hope you know your way around and don't.
You try that with these kids now.
Nah.
You're done. You're cooked.
No. Like, okay, I'll just quit.
Right. I'd rather quit than give you my phone. So maybe middle school, maybe I could do middle school, elementary school, but it would definitely 100% be coaching, because I think that will always be something that I have the itch to do, for as long as I'm able to.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you get the opportunity to do that, because
for sure.
I would play for you, certainly.
I appreciate it.
If I could. I mean, there's a lot of kids out there, if they had you as a coach, who would be very lucky. So, yeah, I think that's amazing, and I hope you get that opportunity. But for the time being, I'm really happy that you found a path that you feel aligned with. And
100%.
Yeah, that's special. You don't hear about that a whole lot. So
no, for sure. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you having me on, man. I really do.
Yeah, this was a great time. I really enjoyed talking to you and hearing about your journey. Yeah, this is really cool to catch up. Well, This is the first time we've ever spoken. But
first time for everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. It doesn't have to be our last time, though.
No.
Yeah, absolutely not. We'll stay in touch. But yeah, thank you again for being on. This was a great episode. And yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Have a great rest of your day. And
you too.
Yeah, thank you again.
Of course, you need anything, you know how to get in contact with me. So
absolutely. Thank you.